Hey guys, good evening and welcome to our living room. I'm Sam and this is my wife Sharon.
Hello, hi.
And we've been asked a lot of questions the last year, and we just wanted to, take some time to just introduce ourselves. And over the next few weeks or months, we just want to, give our audience an opportunity to get to know us better, what we like, what are our passions, what are our callings, and things like that. And why did we move to the U.S. And so that's basically why we wanted to do this, because it's been on our heart the whole of last year, but for some reason or the other, we didn't really get to it. But we really felt the Lord push us to do it this year.
Mhm.
So we wanted to take the time and probably do like a weekly um, podcast or something like that to encourage you folks and to for you all to get to know us better and what we do. And over to my wife.
So when you said like 2020 we were supposed to do this whole thing, one of the main reasons is because I was pregnant and I wasn't able to sit the way I'm sitting right now. So now our baby is right there. Hopefully she doesn't cry. She's not cranky, but she is fine looking at us. So so we just want to take some time to introduce ourselves. We've been getting a lot of text on Facebook, Instagram, to people want to know us more because there's not much about us on one of these platforms. So we thought to take some time and just share something about us. And we also this main podcast is because we're gonna have a lot of guests over the weeks, right?
Or months.
Or months. But we want to just start what the Lord wants us to do. So one of those questions, I mean, there are so many questions, but we have to pick few questions to answer because I know by the time you're done, our baby's gonna cry. So yes, so question number one, people wanted to know, how did we meet?
It's actually an interesting story because my wife was at the time she was in the U.S., so she was a missionary to the U.S., and so she was here, and I was in India, and so our mutual friend who was also a pastor in the church in our church back in India, and my best friend. So he was the one who kind of like set us up on a blind long distance date, and so it was just one of the things that the Lord ordained, and yeah. So we kind of met. We met in. I think we started talking in July of 2016. I'm gonna say.
You better say it right.
So and then yeah, it's one of those things we just fell head over heels in love. And yeah, we got engaged in December of that year, and we got married in May the next year. In 2017 May we got married. So yeah, that's how we met. So it was a God ordained introduction through a mutual friend.
And I'm glad that we met. No regrets.
Yeah, but more on that later.
Yes. And the second question is about our marriage.
What about our marriage?
So, how did we decide to get married? Like in less than 6 months.
I think I'm gonna take the credit for that, because like when we got engaged in December, initial plan was to get married in September the next year, because I wanted to get married on my parents' wedding anniversary, which is in September. So that's what we were planning to do, and we wanted to surprise my parents and do that. So that's what we were kind of like moving forward towards. But it was just so weird that Sharon's family and Sharon herself, they kept hearing from the Lord that we need to get married in May. And so she came and spoke to my mom, and my mom said, "I've been praying for you all to get married in May." And I mean, it didn't really strike me at the time, but I think it was a week or a couple of days before our wedding. The Lord reminded me of a prayer that I had prayed the previous year. My birthday is in May. So May the previous year, just before Sharon and I met. So I prayed, I said that I want to meet the person that I was going to get married to. I want to meet that person before the end of this year, and I want to, be serious about that person before the end of the year, and I want to get married before my birthday the next year. And I said, if that doesn't happen, I'm not going to get married after that. I'm not going to get married at all. So it was just one of those divine moments that, God just orchestrated everything so beautifully. We didn't have any plans of getting engaged either. And, we got engaged on the 23rd of December. And we had a formal engagement with our family and friends on the 26th of December. And just the way, God orchestrated that, even that, right before the end of the year. And we got married just a few days before my birthday. And it was just amazing, just the way just God orchestrated the whole thing. And man, that's crazy how God just worked that out. And we're so grateful that. And God reminded me about that prayer just a few days before our wedding. I was like, wow, I prayed that prayer and I forgot about it. But God just, God did. And we are thankful to God for that.
Thankful to God. It was before my birthday too. The next question is.
These are just some of the main,
yes,
some of the questions
we're just kind of ignoring other questions because.
For the time being.
Yeah, and also, if you really wanted to know about a calling, we have a magazine that. That did our calling.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yes, a little bit about our calling that it came on our magazine. So if you want to know in details, we would love to send you that information because we don't want this time, to share this time, I believe. Okay, so when did we move to the US together, and why US?
Why the US is an interesting question because we both got saved in India at a very young age, and it was in two different places, but in two different churches, and I think the preacher probably was two different people, but it was an American missionary who had come to India. And so I got saved in my church after an American missionary preached in my church, and so he had prophesied over me about the US, which was a confirmation because I knew that the Lord had called me to the US. I didn't know when, why, and all that stuff, but so he had prophesied over me, and it was a similar story to Sharon as well. So she got saved in her home church when an American missionary had come and preached, and he prophesied over her, called her out in the middle of the service, and prophesied details over her about the US and all that stuff. And so both of us knew that we had a calling for the US. We knew that we didn't know when or how God would bring us here, but we knew that at some point God would bring us to the US to be a missionary. But the odd thing at the time when we looked at it was, America was a place that was sending out missionaries all over the world. So we didn't really understand at the time why God was calling us to move to the US, calling us to the US to, share the gospel, preach the gospel. But when we look at the time and the seasons now, it's so appropriate because God has been bringing in tens of thousands of missionaries from around the world into America.
That's right.
I believe it is a strategic time that God is bringing people into America. And I think that's why God had to place that calling upon our lives. And Sharon was here since 2015. She's been here from 2014, 2015, but as a married couple, we moved to the US in 2018, March of 2018.
Was it easy to move to the US when you had everything back in India?
That's a hard question because when we were in India, after we got married for about 6-7 months, And so we had a luxurious life back in India. We didn't really have any needs or wants or anything, but it was difficult because the Lord had asked us to leave everything and come here. Kind of, we felt kind of like Abraham, like leave your father's house and go to a place that I'm going to show you, sort of deal. And so we had to leave everything behind, and like we were involved in ministry back home. We were doing things that we love to do, all of that stuff. Like we um, had things to do. It's not like we didn't have anything to do, so we want to go to the US to make money or whatever. But God called us here. That's our daughter saying hi. But God called us here at the time to leave everything, and it was hard because my mom had just passed away just a couple of months before we moved, and that made it all the more harder. But like now in hindsight, when we look back at it, we can always say that that act of obedience, that was amazing, because God really came through for us. God really backed us up. God really provided for us. God really took care of us, and that was one of the best decisions. Like after marriage, I think after saying I do, I think that was one of the best decisions that we made.
Yes. And y'all can hear our baby.
She wants to be a part of the video
yes,
too.
She likes that. So she's like, oh, y'all kept me somewhere far away from y'all. Carry me. Yes. Okay. So okay, this is so many people ask this question, like so many texts we receive from people. Are we ordained?
Yeah, we've been informally and formally ordained into ministry, and so if you want us to get you married, we can do that. If you want us to, I don't know, I don't want to say, but yeah, yeah, we have been formally ordained.
Yes, we are formally been ordained, and we are ordained as pastors years back. And what is the one thing that you can't forget that happened in 2020?
2020, that's easy. We had a baby in 2020. I think that was one of the bright spots of 2020 for us, because we had a baby in April, right when the pandemic started.
Oh, yes.
And so I think from the time she was born, it really helped us. God really helped us take our mind off everything that was happening around, and focus on His goodness, because she was a blessing. I know we probably share a testimony of how she was born at a later time, but it was just amazing that God just came through, and we had our baby safe and sound, and she's been such a blessing and just given us so much joy. That when we look back at 2020, more than the pandemic, we can say that we've enjoyed the time that we got to spend with our baby.
And so like few people know my answer, but people wanted to know if you weren't called into ministry, what would you have been?
I'm an engineer by profession, so that's what I was doing. I went to England for my higher studies, and I was working there for a bit, and so it was really the call of God that enabled me to serve the Lord in different ways. I was youth pastor in my church. I was a worship youth pastor in my church, and also I was working for an NGO that helped rescue women from trafficking and child marriages. So I believe that those are two of my passions. We'll probably get into that in detail at a later time. But I think it was God just synced both of it into serving Him, because we always think of that as two different things.
Mm-hmm.
We always think of work as separate and our calling as separate, but God has called us to serve Him wherever we are and whatever we do. And so to answer the question, if I wasn't called into ministry, I'd probably be doing an engineering job somewhere, making money.
That's right, and you don't need to. So most of my friends know, and people who don't know, before I always wanted to be a fashion designer, but then God called me into full-time ministry, and I guess this is my 14th year in the ministry. That doesn't mean I'm too old. It's just that I accepted the call too early, so I'm still young. How about you? Like, how long have you been in the ministry?
It feels weird, my wife asking me all these questions, knowing the answers.
I want people to
uh,
know because
yeah.
they've been texting.
I think I've always been in ministry, I think all my life, because my mom has always been in ministry all her life, even though she was in full-time ministry for about 20 years. Prior to that, so she was in the marketplace, but she was also in ministry. So it's one of those things. So I'm a PK, pastor's kid. So no matter what you're doing, like you are involved in ministry in some way or form. I remember, like, I used to like lead worship and all that stuff, like from a very young age, but kind of like stalled, backslid, and all that stuff for a bit. But when I really got serious in ministry was when I went to England in 2006. So I think that's when I really like got involved in ministry again. So, but yeah, I think from 2006, so about 13, 14 years.
Okay, so this is the last question for this video because we have someone to go, but our baby is giving the most sweetest smile that I can't resist by carrying her, so we have to end this video. But for the last question is, how do we keep ourselves entertained? Like, how do we entertain ourselves?
We fight. Yeah,
it's not a fight.
It's interesting. Shh, I'm talking. See what I mean? But it's interesting because like when we got married, one of the first things that the Lord really told us was not to get a TV. And it was in our day and age that was difficult because like we are so used to entertainment, we're so used to like watching a movie or like a TV show or something. Society just keeps us busy with entertainment. But that was the first thing that the Lord told us, that we need to get to know each other, we need to spend time with each other, and build that relationship. And it's still true even today. We don't have a TV at home. So it's just like spending time together, like talking, communicating, doing things together. We almost like do almost everything apart from this, like before this pandemic. We do almost everything together, like everywhere we go. If I want to go somewhere, I take my wife along.
He drags me. Yeah, he doesn't take me, he drags me.
Yeah. And if she wants to go somewhere, I'm like, I'm coming too. So I'm one of those people that I can't stay at home. Like I'm one of those people that needs to go out, have fun, enjoy myself, stuff like that. So it's just like doing everything together. It's not in a needy way. It's not in a way that's that
doubtful of something.
Yeah, but it's just like you just want to spend every moment together. So that's where we've been. But obviously now with our baby, the dynamic has changed a bit, but it's still the same. That that's how we. What was the question?
How do we
That's how we keep ourselves entertained.
Yes, and one of my favorite games is that we have played from the time we got married is, guess what?
Who are you texting?
No! That's not a game. So, what's the game that we played? I love that game.
The sleeping game.
No. 5 good things.
Oh my God.
And 5 bad things. That keeps us more entertained, and more than being entertained, it keeps us to know where we need to be corrected and where each of us are content with what we are doing to each other.
And accountable.
So that's our favorite game.
Yeah. Like right when I'm about to sleep, my wife would be like, okay, I need to ask you something. I'm like, okay, tell me something quickly. I'm going to sleep now. She'll be like, tell me 5 good things and 5 bad things about me.
That gives me a very good night's sleep. So, yeah.
So, yeah. That keeps things interesting because most of the times we have to. I mean, we don't really like say the same things every time,
Mm-hmm.
so it keeps us grateful for the little things. It keeps us thankful for what the other person does and for everything that we do for each other. So in that sense, it's like even at times when we're not perfect, we have our moments, we argue, all that stuff. Even when that happens, and the enemy tries to bring out the negatives, this helps us focus on the positives. This helps us to be thankful for the things that God has done in our lives, to be thankful for what we do for each other. And so that helps us that helps us be not just accountable but also appreciative of one another.
Yes, and also when we have say five bad things, it's not that we're trying to point out each other's mistake. It's to help each other to correct ourselves. So it kind of helps us to build together. And there are more questions, but I don't want to take the time because my baby, she's on a swing, but she's trying to do a tummy time on the swing. So it's good for us to close down the session.
So we're gonna have some guests,
Oh,
very
yes.
special guests next week. So stay tuned.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna be doing this like every Monday, around
Not sure every Monday, but every
probably
week.
every week around this time. And we hope to see you guys, and we hope you're encouraged by what you see. And if you have any questions, always give us a shout out. You can message us, comment, like, subscribe, whatever. And God
Don't
bless
subscribe.
you.
Don't subscribe. God bless you. See ya.
Bye bye.